When it was from the inside, Yanukovych was the head of the state. Nobody liked him that much. I didn't like him either because I saw the real corruption that was taking place in the country. Not the outer, but the inner. I saw the schemes. I saw how they cashed the money. I can talk about it for a long time. For American viewers, it's not interesting. Yes, we had corruption. But another thing, what was important, the economy of Ukraine was on top, not on the bottom. Good salaries, great pensions. The society, they look at us and say, hey, it's good. Well, but we still live good. There's corruption. We got job, we got salary. In 2013, the economy was up.
Right.
Nothing bad was taking place in Ukraine. There was a question where Ukraine is going to be heading to customs union, to Russia, or Russian direction, or Western direction. In EU, NATO, the question arose. In the Ministry of Economical Development and Trade, two officials. One was responsible for Russian direction. Another one was a Western direction. And, we were melting in our brain. Where are we going? Are we going there or are we going here? And there was no balance. And Yanukovych balanced it. Everything was good. He would be reelected. Why that happened earlier, not when they planned, because Yanukovych was invited to Vilnius for summit, NATO summit, and Merkel from Germany, she said, you need to make a decision. Where are you going? Are you coming with us to Europe, or you going to Russia? Yanukovych tried to walk around, and right after that, it began. The Maidan started, and they started Maidan, fired up. 23rd of November 2013,
right.
sort of kids that were raised for that moment, they came to Maidan. Everything was quiet. They could have had an agreement, but Maidan was in and out, off and on. I went to work and I left work. I saw them all. New Year, from 2013 to 2014. Hey, it was a holiday. People that were there on the streets, they left home. They went to celebrate Christmas, New Year. Maidan was empty. I had friends from Europe, and we were going to Maidan. We were taking pictures. Look at that Maidan, this and that. That was like it was calm time. February. Who has given the order that would take the guns from the military departments that start attacking police, special forces? Maidan started getting guns quickly. We could have seen that happening.
Yeah.
But, we saw that. At that time at Maidan, in the end of January and February, they also had a lot of false dollars, fake dollars, banknotes, 50 and 100. And Ukraine started fixing it. They saw that what was going on. We understand that if you can undermine the economy, you can bring false money, fake money.
Right.
The special forces, a lot of work there, a lot of special forces. Israel, United States, Britain, Germany. We all saw that. That was all noted. Specialists in Ukraine saw it. They gave it to administration, gave it to Yanukovych, and they expected there would be a reaction, but there was none. Not one reaction to anything. And then the head of the Special Security Service in the West, they saw that the power was broken, that there is no power in Ukraine. They have no teeth, and we can do that to them. And then first they gave a command. They brought in the EU mediators that signed an agreement with Yanukovych. Let's take off Maidan, there'll be election, everything will be fine. When Yanukovych signed it, everybody saw that, hey, he's weak, so we got to leave. That's when the decision was taken on, in the moment when Yanukovych signed it. Everybody saw he was a coward. And in February, it happened what happened. They shot the bullets. There was a coup in the center of Kiev, and Kiev started being on fire. Weakness of the state head was a key factor that it all took place 6 months earlier than it should have happened.
Yeah.
Not the election, but the coup.
What's fascinating that we were able to see, I think, a little more clearly after Donald Trump took office was when Elon Musk and they did the initial investigation of USAID. I don't think most of the American people, I know I didn't appreciate how much of the USAID money was funneled into these intelligence activities. Back in the day when I was with the CIA, the money would be covertly, it was not put into an overt agency like that. But now we saw that there was a collaboration between USAID and the CIA and British intelligence to use that overt money as a way to bring the people in, pay people to come to protest, to sustain them while they're there, in order to affect this overthrow of a government. Did you have any insight at the time about how extensive the USAID money was?
We know that Nuland, Mrs. Nuland, she said 5 or 6 billion. No, this was cents. That was like a cheap chop money. We say we have it like a sunflower seeds, popcorn, whatever. It was nothing.
Yeah.
This money was just for popcorn. Really, they spent money through USAID. I told a lot about European structures. German also put in money, but USA was like #1.
Right.
It's a company that if you have received the grant and money, I'm not talking about the young people who are used to getting $500, $600 for whatever job or for just pretending. The money, big money, first of all, they were spent on people, and we also had a scheme, huge scheme. Ukraine becomes to be digital. Everything was on paper in Soviet Union. Now we've got the idea, let's put it all into digital sphere. Digital economy, all in numbers. We'll make a software where we will put everything and get everything registered. How many people live in Ukraine? How many voters? How much property they have, and etc. Registries, and registries. These registries, starting from '92, they started being financed through USAID, through that company revival. First registries, state registries, were financed by US money, USAID money, first money. They put young people together, smart, they created the software, and they sold the software to the state. What means by being sold? They have created, registered, and they gave the registry of real estate or affidavits or blanks for property or for apartment or whatever. Registry. The young people do that, they create that, put it as their property, and sell it to the state. But they sell it to the state for the money plus royalties for each action that state had to do. They had to pay royalty back. One registry, third, second. When we started getting into it, we found out that it's not the state property. So state, through notaries, makes the property certificate for real estate. What we do, the government pays royalties to someone else. The keys to that software belongs to those owners, and they can change all those things. I can tell you later what it brought to. So they had this 23 registries, Ministry of Economy that gives the license, different licenses. They made their own software. So their own registries. That's different owners, not these ones. But they were also financed through USAID. Sooner or later, the beneficiary became the same people.
Yeah.
They had service, they had programs, not on the Ukraine territory. Their service were not there. So the prosecutors from Ukraine, they couldn't find what was the deal. And they became like a monster. What they done in Ukraine and the thing, like for example, there's a rich oligarch. If he wanted to take away a plant or a company from another person, what would he do? He did not buy the assets. He didn't go to court. He would just to the beneficiaries, and they would turn off the server for a few minutes or for a few hours. The program has changed, and they will put in the owner is so and so. So you are an American.
Yeah.
Imagine that you are the owner. Tomorrow morning, the lawyer calls you, and they say, this is not your property, that's the property of another. Well, wait a minute, how come? You go to court, you start the court case, you go to prosecutors until they all go through the whole process in the court case. That person who stole that from you, he can sell it to another one. And that scheme, it was a monster. It was when let's put it all together. Let's make a united registry. Let's take it away from private people, from private company, make it state, belonging to this country. 2011, I was already working with a structure that I named to you earlier. They sent to us, to the company, to have a deal with the director. Make it free will. And they would not allow us to go there. And the security said, well, here we are from the state. They said, get out of here. We had special forces with us. We didn't come on our own. No, they would not let us in. So it was built in such a way that you could have taken the whole Ukraine as a government, turn it off, turn it on tomorrow, it would be another state. When in the beginning, all these registries were created through USAID money. The problem is that when we went, we had like a government services,
Sure.
the ministry, that had to follow all the money that were coming outside from the country, the banks. We asked them, give us this money, give us this data, give us the flashcard, the data. They turn in and out, and I finished here. Last year, in 2024, the head of this government services, he left with all the flashcards, with all the data. He escaped Ukraine, and he left exactly when Elon Musk came in and was still voting campaign. Trump was still not a president.
Right.
Musk already was criticizing USAID. He would stop financing, and this person left.
This was a Ukrainian. Yeah.
Yes, it was a Ukrainian. So I started the scheme that it started a long time ago.
Right.
Every state head saw that. But he left just last year. There was already war, Zelensky, immigration, all that. He took all the data and he ran away. If you find that person, approximately, I know where he is. He can tell you who, how much money, and he would show you all the data, everybody who was involved.
I actually think he may already be cooperating with U.S. authorities as a possibility. I think so.
Maybe he worked already then.
Because there's, I know that one, without naming the specific Republican senator, one Republican senator, I'm told, received around $16 to $17 million. A Democrat senator who's a leader received $23 million. and there are at least 21 other members of the U.S. Congress that have profited in this way. It looks like Ukraine's experience with the oligarchs was different, definitely different than Russia's. I mean, Vladimir Putin early on, I don't recall, was it 2001, 2002, called in the oligarchs and said, hey, you're going to stop robbing the country, you're going to stop selling off the assets, you can make your money, but the money gets invested in Russia, and you're not going to be involved with politics. That sort of thing never happened in Ukraine. And when these oligarchs working with Soros, working with USAID, leading up to the Maidan, was it their desire that they could take control of more companies, or that they would be able to cut deals with foreign countries in order to enrich themselves? What do you think was their ultimate objective?
You have asked a good question, because this question is what we said that was earlier. Now let's talk about future. Budapest. Now, they say that Vladimir Putin and Mr. Trump, they had an agreement to meet in Budapest. Now, that's very symbolical for Ukraine.
Right.
Why? That in 1994, when Budapest, Ukraine said, we'll give you the nuclear weapon, right, at that moment. Then Kuchma came in and he said, we are the owners of the country, and we can all steal 10%. I told you that phrase.
Right.
Starting from that moment, the starting of the Ukrainian oligarchs started from 1994. And privatization, that all was fixed, we have it, and all their money and property, this or that way. It's in Ukraine still, but it's already registered in offshores. British, American, we have it, first thing. Second thing, the money that they have took out, they all on the Western accounts, yes. Of course, they ate, they drank, they lived through it, but all the capital is there. And now, if their meeting will take place, why Ukraine is so much afraid of this meeting of Trump and Putin in Budapest, because they think oligarchs, Ukrainians are thinking that way. In 1994, we started as oligarchs. Maybe in 2025 we'll be finished.
Right.
And maybe Trump and Putin can have an agreement. That's it, we're done. Because this country we have created, we stole from that country, and Trump knows where our money is, and he can tell. That's it. Turn the switch off. And they say, no, we don't want to have Budapest. They're afraid of Budapest because they still remember their historical memory concerning the difference of Russia and Ukraine. Russia also had oligarchs. You're correct. Let's not talk about that. But here, the power became strong. Maybe somebody doesn't like the power that is Putin's. Maybe, that's possible. People don't like it. But you have to ask Russian people, the people who live here, do you love this power? They vote for it, so that means they trust that power. That's important. And the second thing, the Ukrainian oligarchs are still managing the country, even now. When they have war, they still are managing Ukraine, controlling Ukraine. Look, Mr. Viktor Pinchuk, who traded money into the Democratical Fund of United States Party. He always supported Democrats. Nothing has changed there. He makes pipes in Ukraine, sells it, including to U.S. Nothing has changed. Rinat Akhmetov, who was the head of Donbass. Yes, he left. He lost a lot at Donbass, but look at Forbes list. Rinat Akhmetov, now he has all the energy system of Ukraine, and when Russian army destroys that parts of that system, the budget of Ukraine compensates the money to Mr. Akhmetov, and Ukrainian budget is from American EU money. So it sees that Americans and Europeans are financing Akhmetov through the system of energy. Filtash, I can name it all to you. Say, Mr. Kasyuk, such oligarch, he lives in Ukraine.
Yeah.
He takes over the chicken, meat, and exports it. If you take a look at the Forbes, he hasn't lost anything. Why? We just question why. There's a fourth year of war, but oligarchs didn't lose a dollar. Yes, they can tell me. Kolomoisky is one of the Kolomoisky. He's in jail in Ukraine. He's poor and so on. Tell me. Did they give Kolomoisky to the United States? He bought real estate in the U.S. He also corrupted U.S.
Right.
How come Zelensky wouldn't give Kolomoisky to the United States? He didn't receive the jail time in Ukraine. There is no court. He's oligarch, he's not, corruption is not, we don't know. So all of this, we don't have in Russia. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Russian oligarchs that in 90s were like Ukrainians, like we are the masters of Russia. Putin said that he pushed them back. They are not fed anymore from the state. We have capitalists in Russia. Yes, we have rich people, but these are not oligarchs. And the most important thing, the government of Ukraine in Rada. That's the fraction of Kolomoisky, this fraction of Akhmetov. The oligarchs still are ruling Ukraine, managing Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference that we have. And I want to say that you have remembered Elon Musk.
Right.
When Musk, everything connected to him, that will stop USA, will stop financing, I will redo those officials, I'll close. You cannot imagine what took place in Ukraine. All journalists that were so-called independent, young people that were there, well, wait a minute, how are we going to survive? If they close USAID, there's tens of thousands of people and their families, they're without a job.
Yeah, yeah.
They have no job.
Yeah. Listen, Vasily, I could sit here and we could do this. I'd like to extend the discussion, but our time is up. I want to thank you on behalf of the International Unity Club for taking the time to do this, for providing such important insights into the, let's call it the roots, the foundation of this war, and why, why Russia's special military operation actually, it's a way to try to deal with a threat from the West that is founded on corruption. So I thank you so much, and thank you for participating, and I hope we get to do this again. Okay, thank you.